The master who lost everything. For a $4 million clock. A moral story. Silas Thorne could fix any clock in the world, but he couldn't fix his own broken sense of value. Silas, 58, was the most celebrated clock restorer in the Western world. His workshop, located in a quiet, historic town renowned for craftsmanship, looked more like a museum vault. He dealt exclusively in history, restoring the clock of a former president, the timepiece of a forgotten king, the gears of a priceless cathedral tower. His ego was polished as brightly as the brass on his workbench. A man is only as valuable as his most complicated work, was his silent motto. One cold Tuesday morning, Silas was meticulously cleaning the mainspring of a 17th century French regulator, a piece valued at $4 million, when the bell above his shop door jingled softly. An elderly woman named Martha stood there. She held a small, plain wooden mantel clock, its lacquer faded, its face scratched, and its chime silent. It was the kind of clock you might find for a few dollars at a yard sale. Martha's voice was gentle, edged with desperation. "Mr. Thorne, I know you usually handle important pieces, but this clock, it was my father's. It hasn't chimed since my husband passed away last year. Can you please look at it?" Silas barely glanced up, his expression a mask of professional boredom. "Mrs.? Martha. Martha," he continued, holding up a microscopic jewel bearing with tweezers. "I charge a minimum retainer of 5 figures. That clock has no historical significance, no complexity. I am currently commissioned to repair a museum piece for the royal collection. You need a hobbyist, not a master." Martha's shoulders slumped. She hugged the clock tighter, the faded wood against her knitted cardigan. "I understand. Thank you for your time." She turned and left, the chime above the door a mournful sound behind her. Silas immediately dismissed the moment. He was too important. For the next 4 days, he was consumed by the French regulator. It was a marvel of tiny complications, a testament to genius. He disassembled the most complex component, a subdial known as the truth wheel, which tracked astronomical time. As he cleaned the final, tiny lever of the truth wheel, his specialized loupe caught something impossible. On the inside of the solid gold casing, where no one would ever see it, was a minute, almost invisible inscription, etched by the original master craftsman centuries ago. It wasn't his famous signature. It read, "For the one I never finished, made perfect for E." Silas froze. This was the work of a man whose legacy filled history books. Yet he had hidden a private, simple message of devotion inside his most intricate piece. The E must have been a wife, a daughter, a quiet recipient of a simple gift. Why hide it? Because the public demand for his genius made it impossible to appreciate the simple perfection of a gift made purely for love. He had to force the truth into the shadows of his grandest work. Silas suddenly remembered Martha's cheap wooden clock. The simplicity, the lack of fanfare, the quiet request. He had measured Martha's clock by its value to the world, not its value to her. He had become so obsessed with building his own untouchable legacy, the kind that demanded 5-figure retainers, that he had turned away a genuine human request for connection, a request that represented the very soul of his craft. He dropped the priceless regulator and sprinted out the door, jumping into his car. He drove to the local community center, then the library, asking about a woman named Martha. He finally found her address, a small, neat house 10 miles outside of town. When he arrived, Martha opened the door. The small wooden clock resting on the hall table, still silent. Silas swallowed his immense pride, which felt like metal filings in his throat. "Martha, I apologize. That clock, it deserves to chime." Martha looked at him, confused. "The French clock is finished, then?" "No," Silas said, stepping inside. He gently picked up the wooden clock. He opened the back plate, a simple task that took 3 seconds. He saw the problem immediately. A tiny chip of lacquer had fallen into the escapement, jamming the main gear. A hobbyist could have fixed it. But then he saw something else. On the inside of the wooden backplate, nearly worn away, was a tiny pencil mark. It was an initial, S. "Martha," Silas asked softly, "did your father or husband have a simple name?" "My father," she replied, smiling for the first time. "He loved to tell me he was a master craftsman, just like you. His name was Samuel. He was just a carpenter, but he made this clock for me when I was 5. He used to say it was his simple masterpiece." Silas stood holding the humble wooden clock, the true, simple masterpiece of a carpenter named Samuel. He realized his fame, his gold tools, and his 5-figure fee were just complicated layers covering a core truth. The real legacy is the quiet work done perfectly for the person you love. He looked at Martha, and then at the simple gear he had to move. He was finally ready to fix his own value system. Moral of the story: the value of your work is not measured by the accolades it receives or the price it commands, but by the unseen kindness and love put into the simplest act. Stop chasing legacy and start creating true value.